Hey there, welcome back to Lightroom Quickstart Bootcamp. In this video, we're taking a look at the library module, and we're going to start off with the first few items in that right-hand panel dock. Let's get started. The first item that we have over here in the right-hand panel is the histogram. And a part of me says, why did they put the histogram in the library module? Because it's the library module, right? And when we're dealing with the histogram, I tend to think about, I'm going to be looking at my developed settings. I'm going to be looking at whatever else I got going on. However, I'm actually very pleased to see that it's here, because what it does is it gives you the opportunity to quickly see exactly where your exposure fell within the luminance values, what the values of those skies are, what the values of this dune is, i.e. how bright is it really? Because your screen can certainly be something that is out of whack. It can be too bright. It can be set too dim. Someone could have come in and hit some buttons and your screen is all messed up, but your histogram will not change just because your screen changes. It's not a thing. It's not a problem. This is a nice thing to be able to look at it and say, hey, look, I've got this image and I've got that image. If I was playing with my exposure when I was in camera and I was looking at, okay, what am I going to do with my exposure? Then I can see that subtle shift in the histogram. So for instance, if I were to have given it, I'm going to fake it here a little bit, and I'm going to give this a 1-stop overexpose, whereas the other one only has a 0.7 stop, right? Now let's go back to the library. And so I can see that difference. This is mimicking the difference that would have happened if I had done this value in camera, or if I had played around with the exposure a little bit in camera. And then I can make a determination, possibly I can make a determination for myself. This is the better image because those tonal values are closer to where they really should be, and I will have less to do when I get to the develop module. So that can help me make a decision as I'm editing my images, because the library module is really all about editing your images, as in what do you want to keep, what do you want to get rid of, and of those you want to keep, what metadata changes do you want to make? Do you want to put them in this location on the hard drive or that location on the hard drive? Do you want to make collections about things? Do you want to filter your view of what you have available in that particular folder? We've looked at all those things. But here we have so we're starting to think, we're jumping in a little bit into those ideas where we have a little bit of forethought, a little bit of foresight, I should say. What's going to happen when we get into developing these images, processing these images in the develop module? Are we going to have the best starting point? And the histogram is a great way to help you understand, do you have the best starting point? Also, take a look. It gives you this reading here, the ISO 400, for example, 300 millimeter on the lens. So I have this quick view of this metadata, f5.6 on the aperture, and then the shutter speed, and then build a smart preview for this photo to allow offline editing. Okay, why not? Let's go ahead and build the smart preview, because that sounds really fun, huh? Now, what does offline editing mean? It means that I could have my hard drive unplugged, and this image, once that smart preview is made, this image will have a preview in the catalog folder that allows Lightroom to have enough information that says, okay, you can actually still access the develop module and you can make changes to it, and will show you what those changes would probably look like. Now, when you plug in your hard drive, of course, it'll reference that photo, reference that data, and update if it needs to, but pretty much it's got all that information there anyway. It just says, oh yeah, that image is still there, and if you were to export it, here's the settings that you would use. It'll still crunch away at the original data, but it will still give you those settings that you were able to preview because you had the smart preview made. So a few items here where we have it nice and quick, nice view on what the overall scope of the image is. And I really like being able to see the histogram. It's so important to understand what the exposure was because of what we see in the histogram. It's right there, right in the library module. So yeah, I think it's a good move. Now in this quick develop panel, this is one thing where I'm looking at it and saying, I can't remember the last time, if ever, that I used this item, that I used this function. We do have the opportunities for some presets. So if you wanted to, Adobe's own presets, make your own presets, bring them in here, load some presets. You'll go to user presets, maybe load some presets. These are, again, we're looking at nodding towards the idea, a nod towards the future of getting into that develop module, but certainly we're still here in the library module. If you know you had a certain preset that you were just like, what would it look like? You could go hit a couple buttons here, take a quick look without having to dive into the develop module, see what it looks like, and maybe you'll decide to keep it or not. Maybe that helps you deciding in keeping it or not. Again, this is not something that I personally use, but if you were to get a little more advanced in Lightroom and say, yeah, this is a good look for a starting point because I've made this preset, I like what I see here, let's go forward with it, then I say, yeah, go for it. This could be a really good way to help you edit and make decisions about your images. This next item is something that is potentially very deep. As this is a Quickstart Bootcamp, I'm probably not going to get as deep. I know I'm not going to get as deep as some would like me to get. I want to just give you an idea of what the keywording is about. All right, so with keyword suggestions, basically Lightroom, in my opinion, they really don't have any idea. Segmentation, maybe I used that recently, and so Lightroom is guessing at the idea, well, maybe this is part of his segmentation program, his segmentation series. I'm going to tell you this image is not, so that suggestion is useless. Cinelens test, no. NR, which stands for not released, it's not applicable here either. South America, this is from Idaho, so it's definitely not from South America. So as you can see, these items, they're trying to just say, hey, these are some of the ones you most recently used. Maybe they apply to this set of images too. Not the case, but okay, thanks for trying, I guess. But I did forget one thing. Look at this. This item, I had hit the other disclosure triangles. This item had its disclosure triangle where it wasn't disclosing what it was hiding. And this is actually what we need. This is the money spot right here, where we can say, look, this is Bruno Dunes. And I'll go ahead and do the state park. And I'll add Idaho, and I have to add another return to make it all there. Now this is another thing to where if you were in the grid view, well, let's actually go back to this first view, and let's go ahead and select all of these images, and then I were to continue this, and I added those extra items to it, right? Well, when I click on this other image, notice I don't have any keywords here. I click on this first image again, and then I've got those keywords back. So what I can do then is I'll hit the grid view, so G for grid, and then notice I've got these little asterisks by them, which means you've got some keywords here that applies to one but not all of these images, or one or more of these images but not all of these images. And so if you want them to apply to all of these images, you got to go through here and get rid of the asterisks. And then you hit return, and now if I were to look at them all individually, they're all there. So again, another thing where in the previous video, we looked at what happens when for instance, when you stack the images and you were to rename them. Well, here, when you have the loupe view active, then whatever you change will only happen to that one image. We also did it certainly with the flagging of the images, where the only one image was flagged. Here, the changes to the metadata only happens to that one image when you're in loupe view, but happens to all the images in your selection when you're in grid view. Now, in a previous video, you'll recall I said we would take a look at this little thing later. This is the little painter tool, right? So let's do that now. If we were to use this, now I'm going to use a keyword. So I'll just enter my keyword now. And then what I should be able to do is I can assign that keyword to whatever I click on. So all these different images, they're all at Bruno Dunes, and this is one way of assigning these keywords to these various images. Now this is not very efficient. This would be something where if you had this image and that image and you needed literally to assign something on random images, I could see this working very well, because all you got to do is a simple click, and that could be really cool. Notice too, you have these other options here. You could paint the flag, the label, the ratings, so on. Let's go ahead and unload the painter so we don't have that activated anymore. And so as I came through about, you can see here on this image, I applied it. Bruno Dune State Park is there. And let's see, where else did I apply it? I was just clicking at random and I wasn't really paying attention. And so on that one I assigned it, but on that one I did not assign it. What I would rather do is simply synchronize all of this data. And I'm actually going to get into that in the next video. Let's now take a look at our keyword list. This is the list of all the keywords in your catalog. It has nothing to do with what you're looking at here on your images that are before you. It's literally about what's in the keyword list in your overall catalog. Even if I were to, you might think if I were to click on an image, it would then just go ahead and show me the keyword list. Well, no, that's what this thing up here is for. It'll show you which keywords are applied. And you can see how they are separated by a comma value. But literally every single keyword I ever applied to any image throughout my entire catalog is here. Even if I had a misspelling once or twice or whatever, it'll be here unless I went and corrected it. But I could, with this image, well, I'm going to do a rejected image. With this image highlighted, I could, let's say, click aquarium and apply that with that little checkbox there and apply Arabian. So we can see now as I scroll up, I go here, there's aquarium and there's Arabian. All right, so we have the opportunity, if you really wanted to go and dive down and do all this and find them there. I highly recommend not doing that, because as you can see, that's an extremely long list. And the more you enter, the longer that list gets. So as a matter of practicality, I just don't see it very practical. I always leave this one with that disclosure triangle closed. It just doesn't make sense to me to worry about the keyword list. Now, I guess what we could do, I could show you one other way of thinking about this. And that is, first off, you could hit the plus key. You could create a keyword tag. You could create something, and then of course you could remove it. And I will be doing some more deep dives into this a little bit later, to where we can look at the keyword hierarchy. That's just not something I'm going to do in a Quickstart Bootcamp, at least not in the first couple of lessons of it, because it gets really deep and it deserves its own video. So I'm not going to worry about that now, but just know that there is more to it when we come to these ideas of keywords and what's capable, what's possible with looking at keywords in Lightroom. Okay, that wraps it up for this video, where we're taking a look at the library module right-hand panel, the first section of those. In the next video, we're going to be taking a look at the next items, the metadata, the comments, which is useless. I'll show you what that is all about and how it's useless, but also those two buttons at the bottom, the sync settings and the sync metadata. So we'll see you there. Until then, happy shooting.